This tutorial describes how administrators can set up standards-based grading. Standards-based grading lets you assess students on several different objectives for each subject, rather than just one overall grade per subject. Standards can be created and then applied to some or all classes. Teachers link assignments to standards, which result in grades for each objective. Before we continue, let's review some terminology for standards-based grading. Standards are a group of objectives for a specific subject and grade level. Objectives are a single graded item within a set of standards. A strand is a group of objectives within a set of standards, commonly used for language arts and mathematics. In admin mode, go to Setup Standards. You will begin preloaded with the full text Common Core Math and Language Arts standards, as well as sample sets of standards here. The Common Core are designed for administrators as a starting point, but as you may know, they are not particularly teacher, student, or parent friendly. Let's click an example set of standards. Note at the top you will see the subjects, grades, title, and year. Below you'll see there's three different columns. The label, which is a shorthand denotation visible to teachers but not on report cards. The objective, which is the full text, which is shown on report cards. And finally, you have the weight. If teachers are using summative grading, which is covered in a later training, the weight determines the impact of each standard on the overall grade. Strands are displayed in bold, and note there is nothing in the objective field. When you create strands, you can have more than one for a particular set of standards, as you can see here. If at the top you select on report cards show total grades for strands, the bold rows, it will determine an average for each strand based on the score the student receives on the objectives below. You can click any row and then new row to add a row, delete, move up, or move down. There are several options for entering standards on the Setup Standards screen. Note that each set of standards must be added one subject at a time. Click New, and you can select Blank to manually add or paste in standards, upload a CSV or text file to upload from a data file. Note that for these files, one column can be with labels and another column with objectives, or you can import simply the objective and add the labels manually. Finally, you can paste your text from a document or a spreadsheet, typically from a report card. You would copy the data from the source document and paste it into this field. Make sure there are no carriage returns within the objectives. As above, it can be a single column, in which case that will be imported as a list of objectives, or two columns, where the left-hand column would be the label and the right-hand column the objective. Once you click New, you will see the data has been imported. We recommend going in, making sure it's come in cleanly, and making any edits that you may need. Once you have added or imported sets of standards, you will see them displayed on the Setup Standards screen. Note that each set has a timestamp of when it was last edited. You can click any sets of standards in order to see the details and make any changes. In order to export standards, go to Setup, Import Export, Export Standards. Doing so exports all standards used at the school in one file. Standards-based grading can also be used for custom fields, such as to denote letters or numbers which students recognize, or to have teachers type in the reading level or Lexile score for students. In order to set this up, in the objective field when adding the standards, to allow for a checkbox or a circling, put a underscore directly before the letter or number. In order to add a text box where teachers can type in directly, type in the text before and then 2 or more underscores to create a text box. Once you have added all the sets of standards to be used at your school, you're not quite done yet. Go to Schedule Courses. Click any course and go to the Standards menu. Select the associated set of standards. You can then create sections of that course which are applied to teachers. Teachers will be able to enter grades with standards, which is covered in another tutorial. It's perfectly safe to make revisions to standards. It won't affect prior years. If you need to make changes to standards once they are applied to a course, it is possible to do so without the loss of any data. Finally, in a multi-school or district account, standards are shared throughout the district.